Hey, got another nut to crack. This week's topic is consciousness. How, why, and what? Um, when? So, whenever I hear consciousness, I always think about, ooh, what do you mean by that? If you think about these associated words like consciousness, awareness, maybe tension, and perhaps even concentration, all these things are really interconnected. Um, when it works for consciousness and awareness, so there hasn't really been no science has been able to actually pinpoint what these things are. So therefore, they are by nature abstract, and therefore also going to be quite subjective experience of them. So I'm not going to define what it is for you, but I will define what it is for me, so that when I talk about it, you won't get confused about what I'm saying is the same thing as you experiencing, right? Um, so when I sit sometimes, and I come into this situation where, for example, if I'm following my breathing, right? And then in my head comes this thought, I am breathing. Um, and then there's like, you could take away I am breathing because breathing is me. I am. Where's the distinction between the action and the person doing the action? Is not breathing also me? I am breathing. So then what it comes down to is you take away even the I. So you'd end with just am. Am is a form of the verb be. So in the end, just sitting there being. Okay. So I think that this is what a lot of people consider as awareness. Awareness that you exist. Now, when you take this awareness and you bring it into your individuality, you bring it into the person who you are, with all your experiences that have molded your perception. This, I think, is consciousness. Or at least we can say for now that this is what we mean when we talk about consciousness. So consciousness is a kind of a combination of this awareness of being, or just being, and your own individual experiences, your brain, so to speak, right? Your perception, your individual perception. So when you meld these two together, this is what I call consciousness, right? And it's quite difficult to say that you can't be conscious of everything. But can you be conscious of being? Is not being also everything? See, this makes this quite complicated and difficult thing to speak about. Um, so I am being. This is just being. As being, cars went past the road. The sound permeated, it went through my ears, went to my brain, and it drew my attention to it. And through that, I was conscious of the cars going by. If I was very concentrated, very focused on something else, I might not have paid attention to those cars. I might have filtered it out, right? So in the awareness has possibilities of basically endless experiences. As I just look only with my eyes, I can see endless amount of sticks, pine cones, and leaves on the ground, and I can look at any one of them. I actually have a dead bird here next to me, and I can be aware of that. But as I'm being aware of that, I'm not really being aware of what I'm seeing over here. Then I have to turn my head there, and then my attention goes there, my awareness goes there, and I've forgotten what's happening over there. I haven't forgotten it, but I'm not actively processing that information. So I filter out things in my awareness, in my being, to attention, which I can therefore concentrate on, and I can be conscious of it. There's some very interesting words. You can be self-conscious. You know, if you say in English, I feel very self-conscious. It's an uncomfortable feeling. You feel that you're separate from everything else, right? And there's very little connection, and it's an embarrassing situation because you can feel quite vulnerable. Example would be like stage fright, public speaking, right? You become so self-conscious, and you want to like this, and you get fidgety and such. So self-conscious, conscious of the self. You can be conscious of things around you in your environment, but you can't be conscious of the entire environment. So when we come down to the martial arts and such, you can be conscious of your breathing. You can be conscious of your contact with the floor or the earth, your gravity, so to speak. How many things can you be conscious of at the same time? I'm not sure. You can lump things together, actually, right? Instead of saying, now I'm going to be conscious, I'm going to concentrate, be conscious of my in-breath, and then you can focus on that. Or you could just say, well, you could generalize it a little more and say, now I'm going to be focused on my breathing, which then you're going to in-breath and the out-breath. But then maybe the concentration or the consciousness of the in-breath is diminished, perhaps not. And then you can go another step further. And then I would say, I'm going to be conscious of my breath while I'm also listening to the sounds around me. And as I'm following my breath and a sound comes in and grabs my attention, my consciousness goes towards that sound, passing traffic, and then perhaps I've forgotten to follow my breathing, and I jump back to the breathing. Right? So that's what I'm going to call consciousness. It's like this, quite difficult for me. I don't know. I prefer, as I said, just going into the state of being. Being includes everything, so you could say that you're conscious of everything and nothing at the same time. But anyway, so in our work, of improving, enriching our lives, I'd like to say it this way. It doesn't mean your life is get better, or you're more of something or less of something, but you become more full, right? So each experience has a deeper meaning to you. I don't know why else anybody would make an effort to do anything. It's to do these things that make you feel good, and put it in a very easy way. So to enrich your life, enriching your life includes raising a level of consciousness beyond the habitual. So say that you wake up every day at 7 o'clock, you hit the alarm clock, you can take a shower, go eat your breakfast, drink coffee, drive to work, go to work, do your paperwork, come home, blah, blah, blah. It's all very ordinary, and there's no challenges there, because you have a routine and you follow the routine, and you're not really conscious of so many things. Even driving to work, sometimes you can be lost in your thoughts and not really paying attention to the road. But thank goodness that you have some kind of another kind of awareness that is attending to driving. So anyway, to raise the level of consciousness means to expand your perception, right? That things that you never saw before, all of a sudden you can see. A classic example from my own life, when my wife was pregnant for the first time, all of a sudden I noticed all the pregnant women in the world, and I was like, where did all these pregnant women come from? But of course they've always been there. But it was my consciousness of pregnancy which opened up my perception. I expanded my perception to see more of what was actually in the city as I was living there. All right. So if you want to work on yourself, to have a better enrichment in your life, how can we work um, consciousness so that it can be expanded? Well, that's why we have these arts like Aikido and yoga and Tai Chi and thousands of other ones. They give us an arena for um, for reflection. And as we become reflective in the same area of the same things, we have the opportunity to see the changes that happen, right? Because change always happens. So you become conscious of change, and as the change unfolds, you also see the differences that happen within yourself. Um, the consciousness of yourself increases, which perhaps you find out you had a tension in your shoulder you never knew about, and then you may release that tension. And releasing that tension, all of a sudden the energy used for the contraction of those muscles is now liberated, and you might feel like you have more energy. Simple, silly example perhaps, but um, so you're becoming more conscious of who you are and what you're doing, and you can do these through the arts, right? So um, why do you do it? Well, I said it's to enrich life. And when do you do it? Okay, so you can go to the dojo, and you can discipline yourself every day at, when you wake up, sit and meditate or whatever it is. So but that's only a little start, because that only shows you um, the mechanics. It shows you the principles behind how you use your consciousness to be aware. There's these words again. To be able to change your awareness from one thing to another, so that you become more conscious of several things, not at the same time, but more perception. That was a very difficult thing to say. I probably screwed that one up pretty bad. But so as time goes on and you become more experienced, you create more experiences, you have more practice in observing yourself in this way, then the when do you do it? You do it all the time. Anytime that you can be jolted out of your, it doesn't have to be a jolt, but you can go consciously, or jolted out of your habitual everyday living. You can have an opportunity to increase your consciousness in order to enrich your life. Yes? So that's just a little bit of what I can say in less than 15 minutes. So thanks for listening again, and see you next time. Peace.